new 911 is always a sensitive subject. You know, when you're Mercedes or BMW or anyone like that, if you do a new car, you do a new car, you know, with a fair degree of freedom. With Porsche, it's not freedom you're talking about when developing a new 911. You know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get the same thing as before, and before that, and before that, going back 7 generations. Which basically means that this 8th generation model is a Evolved 991. That's not a surprise. That's what Porsche people expect. That's what Porsche buyers expect. And the idea is to have more of the same, which is exactly what Zuffenhausen's delivered. So more power, more torque, more equipment, more options. You know Porsche loves its options. You also get a hell of a lot fancier interior with all these different textures, materials, carbon fiber, and another car that I was in earlier even had wood all over this interior, which is kind of bizarre. I mean, wood is not really something I expect in a 911, and the seats are supportive. The interior is as you'd expect from a 911, which means a great driving position, perfect visibility, upright windscreen, shallow dash, and it all makes a difference in a car like this, in a car that's meant to be driven. If I had to complain about something, look at this. What is this? I can't rest my arm up. Yeah, but that's the case with all new cars today. Regulators design cars these days. This is for your safety, so that's how it is. Another trend Porsche's following is size. That's also where they went with the more. It's bigger and it's a big car. The main reason why they increased the size is, besides stability, space, packaging and all that, is so they can, it's a proportional thing. They wanted to fit staggered wheels, 21 inch at the back, 20s up front. That's the first time a 911 has a staggered setup. And look, 21 inch wheels are pretty big. I also expected the 20s and the 21s to ruin the ride quality, but honestly I can't say that they do. It's, once again, this is a 911 that just around town or down the highway, it's as, you know, it's as docile as a Golf, and or any other normal car really. They're known for that anyway. You can use a 911 every day, and it's no different with the 8th generation 992. Of course, when the road opens up, that's not bad either. You get a 3-liter turbocharged flat 6, and that's just the way it is, guys. Turbocharging is where everyone's going, so whether you like it or not, this is where we are. Personally, I don't like it, but you know, I still have all these images of GT3s and 996s and 997s and all those amazing Porsches that I've driven before, and you know, I can't compare the two. So, you know, with context, if you've tried a naturally aspirated 911, maybe this isn't going to cut it for you. But on the plus side, man, this thing picks up from about 2,500, 3,000 RPM. Like right now, it just goes and goes. And yeah, that's not bad. And I mean, 7,500 RPM with a turbo engine feels pretty special. It's not like you got no choice. There's the GT4, the Cayman and the Boxster with the naturally aspirated flat 6, and of course the Weissach department. Porsche's motorsport boys are pretty hard at work at with the next generation GT cars, which you can bet are gonna be naturally aspirated. Otherwise, I'm gonna just quit this job right now. The other benefit of turbocharging is just the immense flexibility of this thing. With 8 gears, you can honestly pick one and stay there all day. Because of the torque and how smooth this engine is. Otherwise, when you're on it on an empty road, a mountain pass or a racetrack, whatever, you're only using 6 ratios. You reach top speed in 6th gear, which means 7th and 8th are your cruising gears for saving fuel, because of course when you buy a car like this, fuel is a concern. Now, last year, I remember, man, I'm going to remember it for a long time, I drove a 996 GT3 RS for the first time. And it's still fresh in my memory how much that car, even the smell, it smells like an air-cooled 911 somehow, even though it's water-cooled. It has the same feel. It has all these slender pillars, a thin steering wheel, and those days are gone. And then it's also important to mention the sound, which considering it's turbocharged, you'd expect it to be a bit whatever bland, but it's really not too bad. And the best part of that is that Porsche didn't resort to any, gimmicks, cheap tricks like speakers or whatever sound channeled into the interior, which I really can't stand. And they were, they were adamant that they're not going to do that. They're not going to take that route, and I'm very glad they didn't, because the car sounds good enough as it is. You'll probably agree, right? I can't immediately, distinguish between the two, the 991 and the 992. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that if you own a 991, don't rush with the trade-in just yet. You're fine. It's a fantastic car. Where the difference is felt is in the brakes with the new electronic brake distribution. You can't. It's a foolproof system. Porsche's always had good brakes, but this is just takes a lot. And the steering is something that they've attempted to correct. The steering for a long time with 911s but that's just how it was. You always felt this slightly light front end, of course. There's nothing up front. And this one doesn't have that at all. The on-center feel is tight. It reacts very, very quickly in the first few, kind of degrees of movement, basically. And that's crucial, not only because it makes you quicker, it's about the feeling it gives you. It means that even at low speeds, driving around the countryside or on public roads, you get to enjoy the car because it feels that little bit tighter and responsive. So you don't need high speeds to get your thrills, with very few surprises. This is kind of exactly what I expected Porsche to do, and it's exactly what I got. So I'm not sure how to feel about that, to be honest. Because do you want a 911 to be the GT, the Golf GTI of sports cars, or do we want it to be something more extreme? Do we want it to stay kind of a little bit intimidating? Those guys with the money, they're the ones who talk, not me. So the buyers, this is what they wanted and this is what they got. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's very hard to pick at faults when you're in the new 992. But as for me, I'm definitely going to wait for the GT3.